Impressive. Your sensei has taught you well. Now it's time for Kendo RANT.
Okay, so here we are for another week of questions in this special Halloween Kendo rant. We'll get to the questions in just a second. I hope you liked my very convincing costume. I think this is the guy from Star Trek or Lord of the Rings or something. We'll get to the questions. But first, like, share, subscribe. You know the YouTube magic. Help grow the Kendo population. We're going to get it to more than 6 million people starting Kendo, probably because of our efforts. All you have to do is like, share, subscribe, and then write a comment down below using the word Kendo. Then the droids from YouTube will go out there and find the people who are about to start Kendo. They have some sort of special powers. I think they're led by some sort of supreme intelligence with some sort of magical force or something. Anyway, and they're going to find those people and make them start Kendo. But you have to write the word Kendo. This is a great Kendo video or something like that in the comments. And by doing that, we'll probably get like 6 million people start Kendo. Surely, right?
Find your lack of faith disturbing.
Most importantly, though, don't forget to shop at KendoStar.com. KendoStar.com is the best Kendo equipment website in the galaxy from far, far away and nearby as well. Of course, I would say that because I own the place, but everybody agrees with me. Everybody. Okay? So, shop at KendoStar. You're going to shop with us anyway. All right? Just don't waste your money elsewhere first. Find out that they're not quite what you were hoping and end up coming back to us in the end. Just go there in the first place. All right, don't buy twice. Shop at KendoStar.com. Okay, so let's get to these questions. First one, this one came to me by email. I've done my best to keep it anonymous for you. Let's have a look. It's a few questions bundled into one. We've got a lot of questions today. All right, so make sure you've got a cup of tea or a coffee or something like that and get ready for a mega rant because here we go. First question, what is Torikeshi? There were several men strikes that happened. One person hit first pretty clearly. Then the Shimpan put up flags. The overseeing sensei called everyone over and cancelled the point, saying Torikeshi. This happened about 4 times between 2 different matches. I was just confused about this interaction and was hoping you could clear it up. Okay, so a bit of context before we jump into this. You did say in your email this was like a local Shiai. I think it was quite a small scale event from what I was gathering from your message. So it might not be exactly what you might see at a sort of more like big level tournament. The word you're looking for is it's Torikeshi. Okay, Torikeshi, and it means to cancel. Okay, it means to cancel. So it's when a point is awarded and then the Shimpan decide to take it away or to cancel it. It can happen for many reasons. A little or smaller event like what you're talking about, it's possible that because of maybe the Shimpan were not super experienced as well, so they're still learning also. So it's possible that sort of the senior senseis might have stepped in and said, look, no, you can't award that one. That one's not close enough to the criteria. So I have to remove it, stuff like that. You wouldn't see that happen in a big event. But I'm not surprised you might see it in a slightly smaller one. The reasons you see it in a bigger event would be for things like lack of zanshin, for example. Sometimes if the flags go up a little bit too quickly, they see a fantastic strike, the flags go straight up, but then the player doesn't show any sort of zanshin. And that could be a reason for Torikeshi. Other things are over celebration or sort of too much, not yeah, sort of trying to oversell the point, that can lead to it as well, where it goes beyond what is Zanshin and becomes more an appeal to receive a point. I'd say as well that the famous one, of course, is a celebration fist pump or something like that. Things like that are reasons why a point might be considered cancelled via Torikeshi. The next one, second, is 3 separate times Kendo stepped out of the ring and one of the Shimpan just made the wave off motion with the flags and no hand soccer was called. They clearly saw the step out and just let the match continue without anything said. So there's 2 possible scenarios here. One is that it's because it was a small event. They weren't really being that strict on Jogai, which is the hand soccer for stepping out of the Shiaijo. Sometimes even, you know, if a Shiai is sort of super friendly or lower level or whatever, they might even just ignore Jogai. So that's not an impossible scenario. The other thing is you have to be clearly over the line in terms of your whole foot. If you step out, your whole foot has to be over the line. So if your toe is still on the line, even if the rest of your foot goes out, if your toe is still on the line, you're still in. Your whole foot has to go out for it to count as Jogai. And then the last 2 things happened in my own matches. In one of the matches, the ref stopped us for not doing proper Tsubazeri. Every time we met at Tsubazeri, I'm doing my correction thing. My opponent was particularly pushy and kept slipping his fists under fist and Tsuba under mine. The ref said if we didn't do properly Tsuba, he would give whoever he felt wasn't doing it proper hand soccer. How he's supposed to handle that situation. I kept trying to do proper Tsuba, but the opponent would always slip his hands under mine. After the warning, he simply didn't get into Tsubazeri. So this is a difficult one, but if you manipulate the Shinai properly, and it's not too hard to keep your Tsuba on top of their Tsuba, and don't put your hands vertical this way. Keep them at an angle like you would in your kamae, all right? Because the shinai should sort of be crossed like this rather than sort of like this, yeah? They should be crossed like this at Tsubazeri. So you should be able to keep your Tsuba on top. Now, I understand they might not be trying to do that, but if you're clearly trying to do the proper Tsubazeri and they're clearly not trying to do it, the one that's going to get penalised is them. So I wouldn't worry about it too much. Keep going out of focus. I wouldn't worry about it too much, but just keep it in mind and just do your best to keep your Tsuba on top. But don't fall into this your hand straight. It should be slightly diagonal, as I say. Okay, and I think you'll find it a bit easier. Last question. Let's have a look here. Last question. I apologize so many. No, it's fine. One of my matches, I lost 2 Debana Kote strikes that missed the Kote by a fairly wide margin. One hit just below my elbow, and the second one actually hit my lower bicep. Both were called valid strikes. However, I had a couple of strikes that were as clean as my opponent's, as far as I can tell from the videos. Mine actually hit the target cleanly, and my points were waved off. During others' matches, there just seemed to be quite a few calls where targets were missed but points were awarded. I was just wondering how you would handle it mentally when you feel like points are being awarded inconsistently. Like I said in the beginning, I'm not thinking I got the match stolen or anything. If those points hadn't scored, they would have scored proper strikes on me for sure. It was just a little discouraging when I ended up getting a huge bruise on my upper arm from a strike that I lost the match to. Left a bad taste in my mouth. Nothing's going to change. We'll still be participating in events there. I just have to fight harder for sure. I understand that. I was just wondering how you handle it mentally. Thanks so much for your time. Sorry for the essay. No problem. Look, okay, yes, it happens. It does happen, all right? Especially at smaller events where, again, the Shimpan might not be super experienced, all right? I've had these experiences too, and it's very hard to... it's not great. Yeah, I understand that. Having said that, when it's about whether the target has, perfectly hit the correct zone or not, in an ideal world, it always hits the correct target. But sometimes there's an area of flexibility in that as well. Now, I'm not saying that they should give the strikes that don't hit the target, but sometimes if it's an absolutely fantastic timing of the Debana Kote, and it slightly misses the kote baton, for example, it can be considered valid. You see that all the time, right? The way to handle it, and it's not an easy thing to do, but is to just try to readdress why, rather than think, well, why were their strikes ippon and mine not? Just focus on the second part of that sentence and think about, well, why were mine not ippon? Okay, what did I lack? Was I lacking tenuchi? Was I lacking kikentai no ichi? Was I lacking zanshin? And what can I do to improve my strikes to make sure that next time they are considered valid? Rather than, if you can help it, comparing them too much to the ones that you lost, even if you didn't feel like they were brilliant. Because at the same time, the fact is, it sort of swings and roundabouts of this sort of thing. You know, you'll lose points like that. You'll lose points that didn't really hit the target. But the more Shiai you'll do, you'll win points where you miss the target as well. So it kind of balances out in the long run. So I think the best thing you can do is just try to focus on what it is that you could identify as being an area for yourself to improve without too much thinking about what happened with other people. If that makes sense. It's not easy though, I get it. Hi, I'm only a few months into Boga and not Q graded. I show up as often as I can, but I really feel like the dumbest and slowest person in the dojo. Everyone else seems to improve at a much faster rate. I'm getting lots of feedback though, which I appreciate so much. I often feel like I'm just wasting the sensei's time. What's it like from their point of view? I love your videos and your merch. Cheers. Oh, good. Thank you very much. Okay, so if a sensei's giving you feedback, that means that they don't think that you're wasting their time. All right. Everybody improves at Kendo at different rates. People have different levels of commitment to improving in Kendo as well. You've not mentioned that in there. I'm not saying that's you or not, but people all improve at different rates. And I think from my point of view, you know, if somebody's struggling to improve, then I don't consider them wasting my time, to be honest. I'll do whatever I can to help them improve, but I think it's very important to remember that it's not all on the sensei. The sort of improvement part of it, it's not all on the sensei. It's not, you know, it's not the sensei's responsibility to make sure that you improve. You have to carry that burden yourself mostly. So you know, I don't. That for me, if somebody's struggling with improvement, then I just, as a teacher, I just see that as, okay, they're still struggling to find the right sort of methodology or way to make the most out of their practice, and I'll do my best to help them with that as much as I can. But I never look at them and think like, well, this person's just wasting my time, because I don't really see it that way. It doesn't really work that way, I don't think. You know, I'm not, yeah, I don't really see it in that sort of point of view. I don't think many teachers do. So I'd just be keen to stress, you know, try not to be discouraged. You're only a few months in to wearing a Borga, right? So of course it takes a long time to improve. Kendo takes a long time to get good at. And well, when I say get good at, I mean to get mediocre at. It takes a long time to start to get to grips with it even. So, you know, cut yourself a bit of slack, and just do your best. I'm sure you'll be absolutely fine, okay? I don't think your sensei thinks you're a waste of time. Okay, next one. Can I ask a question for your Kendo rants about grading and that topic that gets you riled up, Zanshin? I'm preparing for my 5th Dan grading in a few weeks, and at practice I provided a demonstration for my sensei for the rest of the class. Felt pretty good, and I feel like I'm in good shape for the grading. However, afterwards, my sensei told me that he didn't like that I turned too early, and he said that I gave up space to my opponent after striking too easily. I'll not discount that my own execution of the ricochet turn is suboptimal, and this I may gave this impression, but my sensei said to go through with your back to your opponent, and that last year another sensei said something similar to me. I did not pass my 5th Dan grading last year. The complication is that both sensei and all the other sensei he was talking about are likely on the grading panel. I'm on the keeping your eyes and connection with your opponent train for sure, and I'm watching a lot of footage where most people who pass their fifth dan do the same. With the two sensei that are likely on the grading panel telling me not to do it, there's some self-doubt inserted in my practice. What do I do? Second question, if I could distill the fifth dan grading into phrase, it's don't do kendo alone, meaning I need to work my opponent in order to accomplish my techniques. Would you say that's accurate? Okay, second part, yes, I'd say that's accurate. Okay. It's a difficult situation, isn't it? Because we're sort of fighting against the tide sometimes, because people have got these sort of misconstrued ideas sort of deeply embedded and have sort of held them for decades, and they're not up for changing them. There's two ways you can go about this, all right? One, all right, we can just say, okay, we'll just do what they say. Just do what they say, all right, and see if that passes you. But I've got a sort of feeling that it's hard to say without seeing your kendo, to be honest. But I kind of have this feeling that even if you did that, that isn't what you're failing for. Do you know what I mean? I get the impression, probably like you say, the way that you're actually doing your sort of turn as you sort of pass your opponent is probably a bit suboptimal. Maybe it's not quite working out how you imagine it is. And secondly, maybe it's just an easy point for them to pick you up on. But I feel like if you know, I feel like it would be strange if that is the main point that you're being failed for your grading on. I feel like that'd be a bit strange. But I don't know. All right, without seeing your kendo, I don't know. Okay. So, try it. If you get a chance to do another sort of demonstration with the senseis, do that, then run off like that and then see what they say. And if they say, yeah, okay, that's great, that we pass you for that, then okay, do it on the day of the exam. Well, don't do it in a shiai though. But otherwise, as I can't help feeling like that's just not the main issue that's facing your barrier. That it's not the main barrier that you're trying to overcome with getting through the fifth dan exam. What might be wrong? Andy, coming back to your point that working towards grading influences your kendo development, and after unsuccessful attempts with a general doubt if the grading system evolves to the benefit of kendo at all, I'm thinking of abandoning the thought and just go to kendo practice every week without thinking about the next grading. Don't get me wrong, I love kendo for 20 plus years and I won't quit, but frustrating exams with incomprehensible decisions or no explanations bring much negativity and start to spoil the fun. Would you say that's the wrong approach? It's not a wrong approach, because your approach to how you want to do kendo. It's up to you. It's up to you. I don't know where to go with it. Okay, you've got a doubt that grading benefits kendo, or okay, but I mean, it kind of demonstrably does. So, you know what I'm saying? Like, the best kendoka, I mean, it depends how you want to measure the best kendoka, I guess, but the by most metrics I've seen, the best kendoka are the highest graded ones. So, that's my sort of feeling on that. There isn't, and if someone could show me, like, someone could show me someone that's like not graded, or like shodan or nidan or sandan or something, that's been doing kendo for like 40 years or something, and they're as good as nanadan, I might be inclined to like agree. And nanadan has also been doing kendo for the same amount of time, let's say, or even less. You just don't see it. You just don't see it. Now, there's arguably examples of it at like around the fifth dan level. Like, there's sometimes in Japan you see fifth dans who are really, 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 really good. But it's still pretty rare that they're doing sort of really like high quality kendo. They might be good at hitting, and they might be good at winning Shiai, but that's not really the only metric for it either, right? And the reason I say it's around the 5th dan is because in Japan, after 5th dan, you have to go to a national grading to get 6th dan. So sometimes you see these 5th dans that could easily breeze through 6th dan and probably even 7th dan. But they just, you know, maybe don't have the time, or they don't want to go through the expense of paying to travel to go to a national grading. But they're pretty rare, to be honest, because the really good ones know they'll pass, so they'll do it. It's usually the ones that are like sort of not quite there, and so they don't really have the confidence to do it, to challenge it, because they don't want to spend the money when they think they might fail. So I just don't see that. So, you know, yeah, I mean, I think my personal opinion is there's nothing wrong with you, of course. If you want, you know, there's nothing wrong with you going to Kendo every week and just doing it just for the sake of going to Keiko. Of course, do that. There's loads of people do that. Plenty of people do that. But just be aware that lots of people, and maybe it's just my opinion, lots of people in that situation who do that tend to stagnate and don't tend to improve. Okay? They tend to get to a certain point and they tend to be sort of stagnated there, and they're doing the same Kendo decade after decade with no sort of real progression forward. Now that's fine if that's, you know, if you're happy with that. There's nobody's saying there's anything wrong with that either. So if you're happy to do that as well, cool. That's totally fine. But if you're in 20 years or, you know, 20 years down the road, if you're expecting to sort of be doing the same sort of Kendo that somebody of a much higher grade would be doing, I wouldn't get your hopes up. That makes sense. That's what I think anyway. Since I want to start by saying a huge thank you. You completely solved my foot blister problem. Good. So I'm very grateful for that. I have my 4th Q exam coming up in November, and although I know it's a low rank to be testing for, I still have a little anxiety about it. So any advice you have for me, or any things I should be focusing on? My sensei said in the test I should do a variety of strikes, a couple of men strikes, some Kote 1 and 2 Kote men, and maybe a door if there's a clear opening. That's what I've been practicing lately, and I was wondering if you agree with them, and those are the key things I should focus on. Thanks again. Sure. I don't think it matters really if you do men, kote men, or even have a go at a door strike. I don't think there's a problem with that. That's all cool. My one piece of advice for anybody attempting any grade Shodan or below, and it's all the same as far as I'm concerned, is just try to make sure you hit with Fumikomi. All right? Make your hits with Fumikomi and be honest with yourself. Are you really doing it? All right? And you'll be fine. Okay? Just do Fumikomi when you hit and you'll be fine. It's that simple. Okay? What a fantastic Kendo video. Wow, you see that? I think 10 people just started Kendo just now because she said that. I had a question for your next Kendo rant. During Jigeko and Shiai, I find that many of my men strikes miss the targets too far to left or right. Do you have any tips for what could be going on? Also, are there exercises or techniques to improve accuracy? Thank you. It's not an accuracy issue. I mean, it is an accuracy issue, but it's not that like it's not like a hand-eye coordination thing. It's you're using your right hand to swing the shinai, not the left hand, and that's why you can't control that's why the tip of the shinai doesn't go where you want it to go. All right, because you're not wielding the shinai effectively. So you need to concentrate when you do suburi, really on swinging the shinai with the left hand. Okay, controlling the shinai with the left hand and not the right hand. Okay, because that's the key. All right, that's the key. And that's I'm not senior Kendo, but I'm like 90% confident that is what is causing the issue that you've got. All right, it's too much right hand coming into the strike, and that's why you're not managing to be accurate with it. Okay. Next one. Okay, hi Andy, maybe a bit of a niche question here, but I'm currently practicing Kendo at a university in Japan, and I'm a bit confused as to how seniority works, and I was wondering if you could shed some light on it. In the UK, I'm used to the more senior person sitting to the far left, and the seniority gradually lessening the further right you sit. But this doesn't really seem to be the case where I am. Instead, the Taisho is sat on the far right with me on his left, and a third Dan on my left, with the people on his left being lower grades. The Sensei 6th Dan then sat on the far left. I'm not sure where I'm supposed to sit because they do seem to care about it, often placing me in a different position to where I chose every session. I'd just like to know where I'm supposed to be. I'm ungraded, but I'm not sure if they know that, especially as I've beaten everyone there in Jigeko and been absolutely demolished by the sensei. Another point to note is that I'm a third-year student and Taisho is a fifth-year with everyone else younger. So I was wondering if it's based on age. Anyway, if there's any other information about Japan's kendo culture and respect towards senpai sensei, please inform me, as it's all quite confusing. Thank you very much. Okay, so it's impossible to say because a lot of different universities or clubs have their own way of doing it, right? Have their own way of doing it. But it's pretty rare that outside of the grade of Hachidan, it's pretty rare that people line up in order of grade, to be honest. People tend to line up in order of age, okay, or year, okay. So if everyone's younger than you, that's probably why you might be sat there, and you know the senseis probably sit on the other different place for us because they're kind of considered the senseis. It's difficult to say without seeing it, but the best thing to do is sit where they tell you to sit, and then remember where that was, and just keep sitting there until they move you. That's the best thing to do, to be honest. But like I say, it's nothing to do with grade, and it's nothing to do with how many people you beat in Shiai or beat in Jigeko, or how good you are. It's nothing to do with that. Okay, it's to do with your sort of social standing, which is generally based off age. Next one. I passed my Nidan and I've decided to celebrate with a nice new dog. Good. Can you think of it anywhere online that provides superb burger, a great price, with superb customer support, and excellent Trustpilot reviews? Don't make me put the mask on. Don't make him come out. Okay. Right. You don't want to feel the power of the dark side. You know, it's KendoStar, all right? What should I do to keep the new Dordai in great condition? I'm also thinking of a new bag. What would you recommend? Finally, I've found over the last few months that I'm getting more skin tears on the ball of my foot behind the big toe, where it's mostly dead skin coming away in flaps, which are then difficult to remove without recreating the problem further. Is there anything I can do about it? I also find my small toe is turned underneath my foot slightly, which is affecting my stability when turning. I have to wear smart shoes for work quite a lot, which might be squeezing my small toe down a little. I don't suppose there's anything I can do to try and reorientate my toe properly. PS, one other thing, I live in an area which doesn't have much, it doesn't have a lot of senior Kendoka, which means I'm now the highest non-sensei grade in either of the dojo I train at regularly, and I'm feeling a bit weird about potentially having responsibility for helping bring up beginners or leading Subudi bits of training, since it still feels like I've got no idea what I'm doing. I don't want to not do my bit if asked, but what's the best way to deal with feeling being a non-proper senpai? Thanks and apologies for the long questions. No problem. Okay, so there's not a lot you can do with a Dordai. The best thing you can do is just give it a wipe after practice, and try and polish off any sort of scuffs that you get on it. But it's going to get hit, so it's going to get scuffed, all right? Unless you get like an Ishime type or a matte one. It might not be as bad. Depends, though, how coarse it is. Sometimes they're even worse, so it depends, all right? But just give them a wipe. Bags. There's a few bag options that we've got. If you want something posh, look at the Kenpro ones that we've got at the minute. If you want something compact, we've got a new compact rucksack. That's pretty cool, especially if you travel. Or if you want something big and sort of a good all-rounder, then look at the Busho, all right? Finally, I've what's this one? About the skin tears. All right, it'll get better with time, to be honest. And what you can do is when it starts to do that, just tear the skin off, and then it'll be raw for a bit, and then you build up more dead skin, and then that sort of repeats. But it will get better with time, to be honest. About your little toe, I don't really know. I don't feel like I'm qualified to talk about reorientating your toes. But maybe you might want to speak to like a specialist about that. I don't know. But be a bit you know, mindful of it. In terms of dealing with the feeling of not being a proper senpai, everybody gets that, I'm afraid. All right, and the only way to deal with it is just do it. Just do it. All right, just lead from the front. Just okay, go ahead and do it. You might make a mistake. It's not a problem. It's not a problem if you make a mistake. All right, because in any case, you are still more experienced than the people that you're trying to help. Okay, so and remember that that's what you're doing. You're trying to help people. All right, so you're not doing something bad. It's not an exhibition of your skills. Yeah, it's your chance to pass on something to others. Okay, so don't worry about it too much. Just have a go and you'll be fine. Okay. One, why aren't there men shaped like orange pumpkins to have a valid Halloween cake? Or two, saw your new short video on YouTube for the mini burger bag. Big question, is the size valid for hand package on flights? Has anyone tried that, or do you have any infos on it? Thanks. Boo. Okay, so we'll skip to question 2. So the new burger bag, the compact rucksack, it's really great. It's really compact. If you don't have like an XXL door, then you'll be all right with it. With an XXL door, it might be a bit of a squeeze. In terms of using it as hand luggage on flights, I'm pretty sure you can use it on some airlines. It depends on the airline. It depends. Obviously, some of the budget ones are a little bit stingy in terms of how much you can take on. But I'm pretty sure it meets the cabin sizes. But the sizes are written on the website, right? The sizes of the bag are written on the website, so you can compare that with whatever airline you're flying with, and you might be okay. So yeah, I think you should be okay. I think you should be okay, but I don't know for sure. I couldn't say that for sure. You'd have to check with the airline. Okay, it seems about that sort of size though. I feel like I've taken bigger bags on as hand luggage in the past. For a knee down with a leg injury, what's the best way to achieve Zanshin and Ippon without having to fly by the opponent with leg movement, please? Thank you. Okay, so it's not about flying by the opponent necessarily, and it depends what kind of leg injury you've got. But I think if you are still focused and concentrated towards the opponent after you strike, then that can still be considered Zanshin, all right? It's a mental thing and a spiritual thing rather than just a movement thing, all right? So I think that you can do what you can do while still retaining that that concentration and focus towards the opponent after striking, okay? How to prevent your kote smelling worse than a rotten zombie? Make sure you take them out of the bag after keiko and air them out properly. You can give them a little spritz, little spray with some diluted isopropyl alcohol. That can work as well. And we've got Bulgur deodorizing spray as well. That's pretty good. So yeah, there's lots of things you can do. Okay, but just make sure you take them out of the bag. That's the worst thing you can do, is leave them in there. That's what most people do, and then wonder why they're called stink. Next one, hoping I can ask this and express the inquiry well enough. I'm sure you can. And please forgive us a question or a similar question filled in for the umpteenth time. Nah, it's fine. Are the techniques and approaches by Kendo more valued than others? Are shikakewaza more smiled upon or appreciated than ojiwazas in the world of Kendo? If it makes sense, please speak to context as appropriate. Tournament versus class, young versus old, asking for a friend. Okay, so look, yes and no. Yes and no. I think a lot of people would say that like Debana Men is like the kind of golden waza in lots of ways. But I think really at high levels, I think any waza can be like that, on a par with that. It's all about how the waza was created and how the interaction between the two players or kendoka came about. I was at a fantastic seminar a few weeks ago, and the sensei there made a great point where he said that the kendo is about what happens here, and then the strike itself is the result of that. It's the result, and I think that really rings true. So it's not so much the waza, the technique; it's what happens here that's really the part that's valued the most. And I think that's in all contexts, whether that's tournaments or in display matches or young people or old people. I think it's all the same. And of course, dynamically, it might look different, but it's this part is the part that really, this part where it's like, what happens? It's like, this bit. It has a sort of story to it. I think that's the most valued thing, is when a waza or technique has a story, yeah, like a beginning, a middle, and an end. I think that's super cool. Okay, next one. How do you turn around effectively and smoothly after a strike whilst maintaining zanshin? I often feel a compulsion to let the left heel touch the ground as I turn to absorb and stop the momentum, but I resist, often compensate by letting my left foot go far back for a split second. My legs are far apart, and so an immediate strike will be ineffectual if I can pull it off at all. I don't quite know how to manage my center of gravity through the whole sequence so that I don't end up turning around but feel the momentum is still pulling me. Making a follow-up or audio ads are very difficult to do. Thank you. Okay. The first word is practice. But essentially, you have to pivot on your right foot and immediately put the left foot behind. And as the left foot hits the ground, push forward with it to change the direction, to change your momentum and change the distribution of your weight. It's very hard. It takes a lot of practice. It's not something you can just do by trying to do it once or twice. All right. You have to focus on it and practice it and make sure it improves. But that's how you do it. Yeah, is you don't want your legs too far apart, turn around, and then and you need to practice in all aspects of your kendo when you do kirikaishi, when you do your normal strikes as well, not just in like your jigeko. Yeah. Pivot on the right leg, bring the left foot around quickly, and then as soon as the ball of the foot touches the floor, push forward slightly. Okay. Give it a try. As I say, it needs a lot of practice. Says, how important is it to watch our records after practice? Also, what is a good camera to record kendo activities? Do you have any recommendation about a budget action camera? My phone's camera is broken. Thanks so much. Okay, it's extremely important to watch videos of your own kendo. Very, 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 very important. You have to understand what kendo is supposed to look like by doing Mitori Geiko, watching on YouTube. You can watch it on YouTube now. Watch the top players, the top senseis, and build an idea of what kendo is supposed to look like. And then you have to try and copy that and try and do kendo like that. And then you have to check that that's what you're doing by watching the videos. All right. So it's very important. Any camera will do. You don't need a posh camera. You don't need a fancy camera. All right. I just use a camera on my phone, but if yours is broken, fine. Just any camera. It doesn't matter. If it records, it will do. It will do. It doesn't need any fancy features. Okay. It doesn't need any fancy features. It just needs to record what's going on. All right. So yeah, I don't necessarily have a recommendation, just anything. If it's got a video feature, it'll be fine. Any must-read kendo books out there? Do you have much of a kendo library? Yeah, I have a bit of a kendo library. It's not massive. This is the best. This is the best book I think to read in English. The Japanese version is good too, but this is the best book you can get at KendoStar. And if I could only have one book, and this is the book I turn to more than any of the others that I've got. My favorite Kendo book is this one, Kachitsukeru Gijutsu, by Miyazaki Masahiro Sensei. Love this book. It's really, really good. But you do need to be able to read some Japanese to be able to understand it. But yeah, the must read Kendo book is the this one. This one. This one. That's the must read one. Okay. It's the best one out there, in my opinion. There's all sorts of other ones. A great place to get books actually is from Kenshi247. I can't remember what his book website is. Is it kendobooks.com or something like that? But this, if you look at the ones that George publishes through Kenshi247, they're really good, especially if you're interested in Kendo history as well. And he's got a coaching book that's pretty cool. And anything by Alec Bennett, Dr. Alec Bennett, Alexander Bennett, anything by him is a pretty good book as well. You can't go wrong there. Okay. So yeah. Okay, last one. Here we are at the very end. For the Halloween episode, in Kendo, what do you consider a trick and what do you consider a treat? So it depends how I look at this. So trick is like like in trick or treat context, it's like something that happens to you, you don't want to happen, right? It's like something that you don't want to happen. So I'd say having to do Shiai against the Nitoryu is like one of the things that I'm a bit of a trick, think is a bit of a trick. I don't like that. I don't like that so much. Maybe. And what is a treat? A treat is like the treat is like doing the keiko with the high level sensei, isn't it? Is it? Is it? I often dread that as well. Don't know. It's good to do. It's good to do keiko with someone like a really good gokaku geiko, for example. A couple of days ago, I had a really good jigeko with friend of mine, and we go back many years. He's a very, he was also a very high level competitor for his national team. We're same sort of age. We and we had a really great keiko. And that's a real treat, let's put it that way, when you have somebody like that that's sort of similar experience level, similar goal, similar drive to you, a similar history to you, whatever, and you have that kind of a really good connection through keiko, I'd say is a treat. And there we go, we're at the end. Thank you for joining me today. I hope you had a great Halloween, and I hope that you have a week filled with Kendo. It's been a bit of an off-schedule episode, so the next one might be, I'm not sure when, but I'll do the next one in due course. I'll see you in that episode. Have a great time. See you soon. Bye-bye.